Look, things are only approximate. I give dates, like for instance, I'd just given the date to a recording and I realised, hang on, you recorded it yesterday. Should you actually give the date of yesterday or the date of today? And then I think, well, have I added to this one today anyway? Is it today's recording now or yesterday? Do you see things are very rough and ready? There's a lot of slack, a lot of give and take, a lot of generality. You know, when I say a truth, it really only points in the right direction, ideally at least. But, you know, it's never the fullness of truth. It's never completely right, and from all angles, all perspectives, all people's interpretation and the meaning of my words to them. You know, I mean, it's not simple like that. It's a very almost crude, rough and ready world. We scruff through in a way. And in that sense, it's not exacting. It's not neat and tidy and perfectly fitting. And I have the perfect something or other here. In other words, it's consistent with this view, which I'm very strong on, you know, I argue strongly for, which is I'm not seeking perfection. If I can get 80% of the benefit for 20% of the effort, well, that's bliss. From the point of view, it gives me resources to do other things, 80-20 as well. Do you see, we optimize. We don't perfectize. Do you see, our language is rough and ready. Our words, when we speak, you don't speak quite the way I do, or the person next to you. We're incredibly individualistic. There's a great variety of sounds that can meet your ears, which still mean the same words to you. Unless, of course, it's really, you know, if I come across a Glaswegian chap from Glasgow talking to me on the top of the bus, and I think, I'm not following what he's saying, I can't work it out, and I'm nodding at the right time, I hope. And I can't really join in this conversation because I'm not sure what it is. I can't catch what he's saying. I can see from his mannerism he's being friendly, and I want with all my heart to respond with that, to bless him back. And perhaps he knows that and I know it. And how lovely. There's an assurance greater than the words. You know, sometimes you talk to someone, they misunderstand you. And you think, hang on, why did he misunderstand me? Well, it's a predisposition he's got. He doesn't hear things in the same way as you do. Or at least his mind interprets it according to his predispositions, not according to yours. And he might give you a bad name. And you think, well, this is a mistake. Why does he do this? It's the world we're in. And it's the state we're in. Children are incomplete, imperfect. They're not fully developed and matured yet. Yes, we have language, but it's not a perfect language. And if it was, we wouldn't use it perfectly because we're kids. And it's the same with thinking and analysis. And it's why the wisdom of man is as foolishness with God. And why, yes, rationality is very helpful and so on, gives us this great material standard of living, but possibly at catastrophic costs, and we're not really too aware of such. And that is increasingly beginning to be the preoccupation of the modern world with, you know, are we destroying the very planet that we rely on? Right down to something like Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication studies, which you can check on YouTube. They're a great help to the secular, not just the religious. And in fact, he's written it he's dictated it for everyone. But our language is anything but perfect. It's actually causing discord and violence. It's a violent language that we've learned and we've been brought up on, and we don't realise it. And we can change it. And that's a fascinating insight. Bless him for his ministry in that sense. It's a ministry in itself, you know. Yeah, I do commend that to you. Check it. Marshall Rosenberg, Nonviolent Communication. I don't mean it's perfect, but it's an incredible help in the right direction, I think. And you're absolutely right. I haven't perfected it, have I? Anyway, I'm still hopeful. It's one of the things, probably the most useful thing I've ever gained from the study of economics, is that we optimize. We don't perfect something. That's a great cost of what we could be optimizing elsewhere. We avoid perfection like the plague. I'm just seeking to put enough resources to this until the extra unit of resource, time, effort, energy, money, whatever it is, could be better used to greater gain elsewhere. Then I stop pouring it into this project and put my attention to the one that's going to bring in the most return, until the diminishing returns from that are such that I could be doing something better elsewhere again. And this way our standard of living rises. Whereas if we're perfectionists, for instance, I might perfect my career as I perceived my dad did, at the cost of his family and marriage. He felt he was doing it for his family and marriage. But, you know, it meant he had less resources to become sensitive and understanding, perhaps, of what was going on at home, and didn't manage to put relationships right. Well, I mean, I don't blame him, don't get me wrong. It's not easy to put relationships right, is it? You know that and I know that. I mean, but, and perhaps, you know, he realized, in a sense, I don't get anywhere at home, but I am a success at work, so focus more on that. Brings me joy. And in that sense, perhaps he did what was right, given his state of maturity and development and so on. Thinking of that Marshall Rosenberg thing again, nonviolent communication, again, a non-judgmental attitude is an incredible blessing, which makes, of course, something like the book of Revelation and really a great chunk of the Bible very non-optimal. At times, it's full of Old Testament type judgment and condemnation. And your God, your Heavenly Dad, is not going to be like that. I hope. Or you're going to be very miserable, very restricted, very suppressed, very strained. I am come that you might have life, love, freedom to be happy and joyful and peaceful. And sure, our Heavenly Dad gives us all sorts of guidelines. They're not burdensome constraints. They're much more like principles and suggestions and help, rather than commandments, precepts and conditions, requirements. Do you see? He's a loving Dad. I couldn't love him otherwise. And I need to love him, else I won't listen. Do you see?